Good morning. I have a Bosch Fridge Freezer Exxcel which is approx 9 years old. The plastic surround beneath the fridge part is very hot and water is appearing under the salad drawer in the fridge. Yesterday the temperature gauge for the fridge started flashing. Is the fridge freezer repairable and would it be expensive to do so?
Hello, this is sounding like a broken condenser fan. Please try to locate the compressor, and near that compressor would be a small fan and that fan could have stopped running. Get a stick or anything to push the blade and see if it would continue to spin. If not, you would need a meter to measure if there is voltage present or not. This would tell us if the problem is the fan or not. The compressor should be at the back or on top of the unit. The compressor is the black steel ball. The condenser fan should be very near that.
I have located what I think must be the compressor at the base of the fridge freezer. I cannot see anything resembling a fan. There is only a plastic dish on top of the compressor which is filled with liquid, presumably water/.
Hello, yes, that is the compressor and the water on top helps the compressor to be cooler and the compressor heats up the water to evaporate. Is the compressor hot? Be careful, it could be too hot. Is it vibrating at the moment?
The compressor is warm to the touch and there is a slight vibration. Just checked again. The compressor is hotter at the bottom, only warm on the upper part.
Okay. That is good to know. What about the plastic surround beneath the fridge, is it still very hot?
Yes, but it is hotter on the right than the left.
Do you notice that before? When the unit is working normally?
No, I had not noticed that before.
Thank you for that info. Do you have a door switch on the fridge and would the light in the unit shuts off when you press the door switch?
There does not appear to be a door switch inside the fridge. The light only goes off when I switch the power off at the mains. The plastic is now hot right across the top of the frame.
Can you experiment that you watch the lights in the fridge as you slowly close the door if the lights would shut off? I am thinking it could be the light that is not shutting off that is causing the problem. Just look at anything that the light is shining on as you closes the door and watch if the light would diminish.
The light does go off when the door is closed. I could just about see it going off as I slowly closed the door.
Okay. Thank you for that. Would that plastic that is getting hot is attached to the metal horizontal plate between the fridge and the freezer? The dividing horizontal front plate?
Yes.
Would that plate feels very hot as well?
The bar dividing the fridge from the freezer is hot. The plastic above, in the fridge, and below is the freezer is fine.
Okay. So now, which plastic part is getting hot?
I should say not hot.
Sorry, I got confused. Which part now is not hot?
I did not realize it was a metal plate dividing the fridge from the freezer. I thought it was all plastic until you mentioned the metal plate. The plastic above the plate and below the plate is not getting hot. Only the bar in the middle.
Okay. Thank you for those info. The middle part is normal to get warm to hot. But in your original question post, there is a plastic part that is getting hot. Which part is it? The whole flooring of the fridge?
No, just the metal bar in the middle. This has not always been the case. We have never noticed the bar being hot until recently.
Okay. Thank you for that info. You thought it was a plastic, that is why you said it was a plastic part. Now I get it. So we concentrate on this metal part. The hot gas from the compressor passes through this plate to keep it warm. This is to keep the water condensate from appearing on this plate to prevent it from getting rust. But it should only be warm, that is why I assumed already that you have a problem with your condenser fan, because the heat from the condenser has traveled all the way to this dividing plate where it should have not. Now, we have to go back to the compressor. There are two tubes attached to it. One is smaller and very, very hot, and one bigger which is slightly warm. You have to trace where the hot tube went to. Be careful.
The very hot copper pipe goes to the right of the freezer, as you look at it from the back, but then disappears behind the sealed casing.
Thank you for that info. So you really do not have an air-cooled condenser. The unit uses the external metal body as the condenser coil, that is why you could feel warmth on each sides of the unit. Then I would say that heat on the dividing plate is normal. It would only get too noticeable at startups, whenever there is a heavy load because it's just starting to cool the unit, and if ever there is a big load of food that is put in the freezer, let us say after a grocery, or if ever the door was left ajar for a couple of hours. This would make the compressor work harder, hence, the dividing plate would get warmer or even hotter.
Are you saying that everything is normal? Why has the temperature gauge started flashing? Is the unit safe to leave? We are going in. And should I try switching off the unit and then putting it back on to see if the temp gauge stops flashing?
How is the back wall inside the fridge? Is there a thin wall of frost, or the back wall is just cold and sweating? The gauge started flashing because the temperature inside rises above the operating temperature. The door could have been left slightly open for a few hours, that would explain the dividing plate to be hotter than before. No, do not turn it off and turn it back on again. It will not stop flashing. It will only stop flashing whenever both fridge and freezer are within their normal working temperature.
Okay. The back wall of the fridge feels cool and dry to the touch. The door has not been left slightly open as this started last night, and the first thing I checked was to make sure the door was closed properly. The flashing light has been doing this for nearly 24 hours.
The back wall is not frosted.
No.
How do you feel the contents of the fridge? Are they as cold as before when the unit is normally working? Or it is a little bit warmer now?
Little warmer. The milk and cheese are keeping okay, but not as cold as before.
What about the freezer? Almost no difference at all?
Freezer is fine. No difference at all. I use the ice cubes to check the freezer is okay.
Thank you for that info. All I can say is it is still too early to tell if there is a major problem on your unit. First, the alarm has been triggered and we know that the fridge is getting warmer. If there is no frost on the fridge back wall, I can say you have lack of refrigerant issue, which is not a DIY and expensive to repair. But you said that it is not wet, sweating, but dry. That is a good sign, though it should really be frosting. Could be in its early stage and might frost later. The dividing wall being hot means that you have a lot of refrigerant. That is why it is contradicting my other theory that you are lacking refrigerant. But I can say I am 70% sure that you are lacking refrigerant. The dividing wall being hot could be the same effect for a full charged unit and a unit with 70% of gas left in the system. So that is not a 100% indication that the unit is fully charged with refrigerant. I would suggest that you use the unit another 24 hours, but this time, minimize the opening and closing of the fridge door. And if ever you would get something in the fridge, make it a quick open and close. No more thinking while the door is open. This would tell us if the back wall in the fridge would not frost, then really, you lack refrigerant.
Well, I'm not quite sure what you are telling me. If the problem continues, are you saying it would be expensive to repair? In the meantime, is it safe?
Yes, if my theory is correct, you could have a lack of refrigerant issue. Meaning, your unit needs a recharge of refrigerant, which is an expensive thing to do. In the meantime, it is still safe to use the unit, but you still have to monitor the freshness of the milk and cheese every time you bring it out of the fridge, because the temperature of the fridge could be warming up as the days go on.
Is the recharge of refrigerant as expensive as buying a new fridge freezer?
Well, it depends on the engineer that would do it, plus the fact that there are parts in your unit, like the condenser coil. If the leak is there, then it can no longer be repaired since the pipe went inside the sealed body of the unit. But if the leak is just on the visible pipes, then the cost of repair could probably be about half the price of a new unit. You can get quotations from reputable service providers, then decide whether to have it fixed or junk it and buy a new one.
Okay. Many thanks for your help.
You are very much welcome. Thank you too for using this service.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit JustAnswer.com/YTHI.